If time is money and we pay attention, then time is attention. Good day, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Monday Morning Moments with Mark. I hope this finds you well. Well is what I have not been, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I got my ass kicked last week by the hurricane prep and then going through the ordeal and all of that. And I just needed a couple days to recover, get right, and put some other things had higher priorities than having to get this show out. And that's just the case. That's the fact of the matter. So and I'll take a moment to say that my heart does go out to, and I'm feeling that effect, and we had minimal impact here where I live. But just the prep that it requires going through and then dealing with it in the aftermath, it does take a toll on you. And my heart really does go out to the people that are still dealing with that, and will probably be dealing with it for some time to come. So just remember that you have the time, so take the time that you need. The world doesn't expect anything of you right now. So. And as you saw in the open, we're going to talk about time and attention this week and how we can potentially get a little bit more of both. But we always have to start with the funniest thing. So the funniest thing this week comes courtesy of Miss V and I's trip to Disney World over the weekend after we had finished all of our hurricane recovery of the house and things around here. We went to go decompress for a little bit, and we ran into these two girls that I thought were pretty savvy about getting their way around the park, but when we went to get off the monorail, they said they were going to follow us, and obviously I knew how to get to where we were going relatively quickly. And as we're walking through the crowd at the front entrance, I get a little bit farther away. I get distance from them, and apparently they told Miss V. They said, "Man, he's really hard to keep up with." And she goes, "Don't worry, he'll put his hand up in just a minute." And about that time, up went my hand. It's something I do. That's what 20 years of marriage will get you, knowing exactly what your husband's going to do when he gets a certain distance away from you in a crowd. So it happened, and they were completely dumbfounded that she was that spot on and knew exactly what was going to happen, but I wasn't surprised at all when she told me the story. So that's the funniest thing that happened this week. So moving on to talk about time and attention, and I'll explain how they really are one and the same here in a minute, but let's talk about time first. Time is the most relevant and irrelevant thing that, in my opinion, is in existence. It's irrelevant because time can be completely warped depending on the experience, the situation, your locational position within the universe. Time is irrelevant because of that. But it is also the most relevant thing we have because in our human life existence that as we know it, it's the one thing we can't ever get any more of. You can always get more money, you can never get more time. So to me, time is more valuable, even though I'm going to use the example of time as money here in a minute. But time can actually be stopped or stretched or warped or however you want to look at it based on the amount of attention that's being paid in the moment. For example, somebody that's doing deep meditation, they have no idea how much time is lapsing once you get into that zone. The same thing can be said for athletes. Anybody that's ever coached or played sports understands this one, that the reason you need all these clocks with the time around in the arena or the stadium is because in the moment you lose track of how long a play took or where you're at in the game and things like that. So you need those markers to help you remember that. Same thing, another example of that is whenever we're in any type of tender, like whether it's a romantic moment or just time with a loved one or whatever, meaningful moment, a mother holding a baby for the first time, something like that, that you can get completely lost and you have no idea whether it was a fraction of a second or whether it was, what felt like an eternity, as the saying goes. So those are examples of how just the amount of attention that is required of us or that we give to a situation can completely warp our sense of time and how much time is actually elapsed. To correlate the two, time and attention, if time is money, even though I don't technically agree with that, if time is money and we pay attention, then time is attention. Things that it takes time for anything that requires attention to detail. So they're one and the same. Giving your attention is the same thing as giving your time. What takes our time also takes our attention. For example, when we talk about the sports and entertainment industry, and a lot of people, I'm not going to get into this big tirade about how, all this money is thrown at them, and it's true. They're billion-dollar industries, billion with a big B, and we all in some way, shape, form, or form contribute to it because we need those outlets in our life. We need entertainment in our lives, um, but why do we give so much time and attention to it? That's the question. Time and the amount of time and attention that we as a society give to entertainment dictates the value of it. That's why they're billion-dollar industries in the first place, because we give so much time and attention to them. But all that shifts once something happens and our priorities change. And I could give you a bunch of different examples, but a couple simple ones are I play in a Monday night dart league. And the last 3 weeks, I've had different priorities and had different things to take care of that took away my time, required more attention of me to the point where I couldn't go give my time or my attention to make that happen. And that's okay. But the real problem is when it's things that should be requiring our time and attention on a regular daily basis, but we neglect them until it comes to an emergency or tragedy situation. For example, my son told me months ago, this is going to be a bad hurricane season. You need to go ahead and get the stuff and put the shutters up now. Did I listen to him? No, I did not. Guess what? I ended up having to spend days working late into the night to make sure that my house was ready to go. And that became a priority. I didn't care about anything else that was going on at that moment. That would became priority number one, was to safeguard up the house. And it's something I could have taken care of, should have taken care of, but it wasn't until it became an emergency slash tragedy, a necessity in the moment, potential situation that it got my time and my attention from me. So why do we allow that to happen? Why do we allow other things that are essentially distractions to take up our time and attention when we could be putting them towards other things? There's a million and one reasons, and every one of us has our own different one. But the truth of the matter is, if we take a long, hard look at it, we need to spend a little bit more time making sure that our priorities, our values, are the things that are driving our time and attention. And if they're not, then you need to reorganize some things. So take some time this week to evaluate that, look at where your priorities are, and make sure that the right things are getting your time and attention, because that's what you're worth. Have a great week.